chapter 3 of First Maccabees. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead, and all his brothers helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. Now, for time's sake, we're going to go to First Maccabees, the 4th chapter. And you're going to see we're going to get into how we were fighting the battle under Judas Maccabeus and his brothers and all those that were fervent of keeping the Most High's laws. So, First Maccabees 4:1, it says, Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen. I mean, you can read chapter 3 if you want, but time constraint, I'm going to start at chapter 4, Salakia. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly, trying to ambush them. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Amius, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp, Salakia. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas. Remember, we read it first, it was winter. So it's a mean season, winter. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, These fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords in their minds. They didn't have no armory. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen. And these were expert of war. So looking from the mountains, looking down, said, wow, man, how are we going to defeat these men? They expert in war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude. Don't worry about their multitude. Neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea? Remember he said, seek out and search out our story of the past. This is what he's doing. So remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Most High opened up the Red Sea, we walked across on dry ground. And when Pharaoh and his soldiers came into the Red Sea, he closed it back up and drowned them. Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven. This is the solution. He ain't sticking his chest out because he's a mighty warrior. He said, let us cry unto heaven. If peradventure, perhaps, the Most High will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. Remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this army before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivered and saveth Israel. That's the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindermost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazara, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Zamnia, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. 3,000 men. was slain by Judas Maccabeus and his men, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoils. So don't be greedy trying to take everything that they have, because when we went to war, when you lose everything. And we girded up with great, we look, when you go to war, put on your best attire. Not like, it is here, you can't take nothing. You lose. We were decked out when we went to war, put on our best going to war. So it says, he told them, I said, look, they didn't have time to get the spoils of the enemies. It says, verse 18, and Georgius and his hosts, that means his army, are here by us in the mountains. So he's here by the mountains. But stand ye now against our enemies and overcome them. And after this, ye may boldly take the spoils. So we've got to kill these enemies first, Georgius and his army. Then we can come back and get the spoils. As Judas was just speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. They seen us burning the tents. When therefore they perceived these things, they were so afraid. They became afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue, silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. After this they went home, and sung a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Most High in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. And all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who when he heard thereof was confounded, confused, and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him will come to pass. Next year thereof, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot. 70 is 20. 70 is 60,000 choice men of foot soldiers, and 5,000 horsemen. 5,000 on horses, that he might subdue them. 65,000 men. So they came into Idumea. Now Idumea, you look up Idumea in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, it says Idumea. It says Edom, Rome. And we know the Romans are so-called Italian Caucasians. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsira. And Judas met them with 10,000 men. That's 10,000 against how many? 65,000. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David. And see how he's going back to the past? To remember the Most High's victories over our enemies? And gave it the host, the army of strangers, into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. 65,000 against 10,000. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boulders of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee. That's keeping the Most High's commandments. He said, for this is the love of the Most High, we keep his commandments. His commandments are not grievous. 1 John 5 and 3. So, in h.o.i, we read that earlier. St. John 14:50, if you love me, keep my commandments. That's what he's saying, the Israelites. Set up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lycia about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. So he killed 5,000. So now you got 60,000 more. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die violently, he went into Antioch and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. So he gathered more. They didn't kill 5,000, they had 60,000 men. They only had 10,000, remember? So he had 65,000 against 10,000, so he would make his army stronger with the 60,000 he had. Come on. Mighty warriors. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Let us go and cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profane, and the gates burned up, and scrubs going in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yeah, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentations and cast ashes upon their heads. See? That's in mourning and sorrowful before the Most High. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven, cried to the Most High again. That's the only time the Most High had pity on us. That's the ultimate humility before the Most High. Then Judas, just mighty warriors. This man, he had 60,000 against 10,000. They didn't kill 5,000. He had 60,000. Gonna go get more men against 10,000? Come on now. But they cried toward heaven. Verse 41. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. Took the defiled stones and put them into an unclean place. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest there should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down. That altar, that abomination of desolation, sacrificing swine and pig and all kind of unclean animals and doing all kind of unheard of acts in the temple, as we read about, to profane the people and profane the laws of the Most High. Wherefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. So the prophet can come and say, this is what we're going to do with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former. They built a new altar and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, seven candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is, as it says, which is called the month Caslu, which is Esau's 12th month, the 25th day, which would represent Christmas, in this day and time, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes quickly in the morning. This is what it says. And offered sacrifices according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. The 25th day of the 12th month of Esau, Christmas, as it would be called today. But they're not honoring no Christmas. This is the Feast of Dedication. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, which is the 25th day of the month. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. It was dedicated back to us on that same day, the 25th day of the month. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the Most High, power of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. See, we were delivered from our enemies. So we had music, singing songs, and having a good time. Like I said, it's supposed to be a joyful time. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold. So they decked the front of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields. That's that snowflake. Shields. We had the shields. Or the lily that the Most High loved. Or what y'all might call the shield of David. And the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hang doors upon them. Just a moment. So, verse 57 says, they decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. You know, the disgrace of what they had done to the temple was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, for the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness. See, we're supposed to honor this 25th day of Esau's 12th month, but we go by the moon. We count our days by the moon, the new moon. 25 days after the new moon for this day. But it's supposed to be honored on the 25th day of the month Caslu with mirth and gladness. And at that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers found round about for protection, for security, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. Listen, and they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethshira to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. And Idumea represent Edom, Rome, Caucasians. Now we're going to go right quick to 1 Maccabees 5:1. We just about finished. And say, now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built, these other nations outside of the 12 tribes of Israel, they heard our altar was built again, and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much, as it displeased our nations that's in this world today, of us coming back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, calling on the Most High. It says, wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them. See? They sought to destroy us. All the Israelites that were among these other heathen nations. And therefore they began to slay and destroy the people. They began to kill us. All the Israelites that was among them. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea. Can't get no clearer than that. You look up Idumea, it says Edom, Rome. Now it's telling you here that Edom, Rome represent Esau. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatin, because they besieged Israel, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their spoils, took everything that they had. And he remembered the injury of the children of Beam, who had been a snare and an offense to the people, in that they lay in wait for them in the ways. He set them up therefore in the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly, and burned the towers of that place with fire, and all that were therein. Afterward he passed over to the children of Ammon. He got the so-called Caucasian. Now he's dealing with the Japanese, indigenous ones, where he found a mighty power and much people with Timotheus their captain. So he fought many battles with them, till at length they were discomfited before him, and he smote them, and he killed them. And when he had taken Jazar with the towns belonging thereto, he returned into Judea. See, then the heathen that were at Galilee assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters to destroy them, but they fled to the fortress of Thaahwam. So I'm saying, when you see, as you see this, understand, you see everybody was against us, like it is now. Same way, you know, when it goes down, is everybody following the superpower of earth. But see, we got one power that's going to stand up against all wickedness and all evil. And he told us it's a promise. He said in Daniel 7:18, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Verse 27, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. Who are the people of the saints of the Most High? Psalms 148:14. So it's going to be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. Who is that? Psalms 148:14. He also exalted the horn, which is the power of his people, the praise of all his saints. Who are they? Even of the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. Who are we? A people near unto the Most High. Praise ye the Most High. So, Daniel 7:27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, who are the 12 tribes of Israel. Who we are? Whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. So our kingdom going to last forever and ever and ever. And all dominions shall serve and obey him. All dominions. All people going to serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. So let's feast and have a good time on this day for 8 days. You know, it's a time to be filled with gladness. You know, the pagan day of their Christmas gonna fall within these days, but so what? We still honor our days, you know, of gladness and having a good time. You don't have to bow down and deal with, you know, messing up your whole 8 days and dealing with that Christmas. We have 8 days we can celebrate from now for 8 days. Not just one day. Say, with gladness, we honored each other, you know, giving gifts and so forth to each other. And those that didn't have, we send them a plate of food and so forth. Not just on that one day, but every day, whatever day you want to. We got 8 days, you know, to celebrate and have a good time, the Feast of Dedication. Once before we leave, I want to remind you, h.o.i, he honored this day. You that believe in him, say John 10 and 22. And it was at Jerusalem the Feast of the Dedication. And it was winter. See, it falls right around the same time. 2 days from now, or tomorrow, we're right now. The first day of winter is right today, matter of fact. And it was at Jerusalem the Feast of Dedication, as Esau was saying. And it was winter. It's winter. And the h.o.i walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, How long dost thou make us to doubt, if thou be Hamashiach? Tell us plainly. h.o.i answered them, I told you, and you believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But you believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. Same ones that was following the way of the heathen. Same people. Wicked men. That's why he was made to deal with them Pharisees and scribes of Israel. Wicked men. Told them, look, I am the Messiah. There's none other but him. So with that, I hope that you were edified and you'll honor these 8 days of Feast of Dedication with joy and happiness. Don't let nobody get on your nerves. Don't let nobody sway you this way or that way. Just have a good time. Just have joy for these 8 days. All right? Hallelujah. And with that, I'll say shalom. I'm out.